actually go ahead and do good audio. All right, cool. So, all right, actually, let's talk about what we were just talking about because I think that is important
Okay.
about a lost passport. Like,
Lost passport. All right. I mean, it's something that you know. It's a real possibility when you're traveling. It's something that you have to just be aware of that it can happen and know how to solve the issue when it does. Um, First time it happened to me, I was in Laos a couple years ago. Went out with some guys for a drink, and we were at this bar. I had it with me, and when the bar closed down, we were going to go out to this like bowling alley in the middle of like the jungle where you could drink past 12, and we got to the bowling alley, and I reached into my pocket, and sure enough, my passport was gone. And I looked around everywhere. I mean, I walked up and down the street that we took to get to the bowling alley. Wasn't anywhere. I was devastated. I was only a couple months into my travel, and I was. Yeah, I had to meet my dad in a couple weeks in Cambodia, and I wasn't gonna be able to cross the border. I was freaking out, and so the next day, I was about to go to the embassy and get everything replaced and all of that, get it expedited, pay a bunch of money, and I didn't want to do that. And then one of my buddies was like, "Hey, why don't you go check out the bar, see if you know there's something, they found something." And so I was like, "Oh, that's a good idea." So I went to the bar and I talked to the owner, and he was like, "Well, let me see if we found anything." He talked to my staff. Comes back a couple minutes later with one of his staff, and he's like, I see in his hand, he's holding my passport, and he's like, "All right, so my guy found this last night. I haven't looked at it. I don't know if it's yours. So here it is." And I opened it. Sure enough, it's mine. And like I'm just like at this point like so relieved, so grateful. And the owner of this bar, he's either like American or Canadian or something like that. Um, and he's like, "Look, like my staff are, they're really trustworthy, they're really honest. But in order to keep them that way, I ask that when something like this happens, we give you show your gratitude, a little compensation." And I was gonna do that anyway already, so I pulled out like the equivalent of like $10 in Laotian currency, and like the look in that waiter's eyes when I gave him like $10 for this was like he was like, and I was like, "Here, me." There's like $10, but I mean he was really he was really appreciative, and like even the owner was like, "Oh wow, like he's it was very generous of you." And I was like, "No man, like do you know how much I would have had to pay if I had to replace a passport? Like $10 is nothing." Like, so yeah, that was the first time it happened, and now currently here in Zagreb, I left to go to Prague for a couple of days, and upon my return in Zagreb, I was sitting in the main square at the big statue, talking with a friend. I had my bags right beside me, and when we stood up to leave, I turned around to grab my bags, and sure enough, my day pack was gone, including my computer, my external hard drive with all of my pictures, my videos, my documents, all of my backup gone, including my passport. And so now currently I'm hanging out in Croatia, passportless, and we'll be going to the embassy in a few days to get it replaced. My name is Brian Perlmutter. I'm from America, originally from Texas, but I've been living in California had been living in California for about 7 years. I started traveling at the end of 2014, and have been going for at least 2 years now. I took about a 6-month break back in the States, saw some friends and family, and then picked right back up on the road.
Damn. And how many countries have you been to in total?
I have been to 42 countries.
42? Bloody hell. I'm just over here. I got like 3, baby.
Oh, yeah.
I feel so uncultured.
Oh, no. This took years. This took years to get to where I am now. Like.
True. Come on, Brian, stop rocking the damn chair.
Oh shit! Sorry. I'm fidgety.
You're so excited. I understand. It's the boyish charm that has endeared you to the hearts of the Zagrebians. Okay, Croatians love this man. I'm telling you, it's crazy. So I'm gonna ask you like some questions about travel, but I'm also gonna ask you some questions about like past life and work and stuff like that. If that's cool.
Yeah, totally cool.
All right, sweet. All right, so let's see. Let's start with like the normal ones that I think have been my favorite. It's just like, okay, so what's your top hostel, your favorite hostel that you stayed at on your travels? I know it's gonna be tough.
Tough question.
You like 2 years, so you have like two.
Okay.
You pick 2.
Okay. Well, let's see. Gotta think through a bunch. However, I've spent the first half of this year in Southeast Asia and primarily Bangkok, Thailand, staying and then eventually working at a hostel called the Oasis. And, I've been to, as we said, many hostels over the last couple years. A lot of good ones, a lot of special memories. However, this hostel in Bangkok was just, it was my vibe perfectly. It was like there was no indoor common area. It was all outside. It had a beautiful little garden, a big, long common area, like common table where everyone could sit around. It was very little room to go off by yourself, so everybody was constantly hanging out with each other, doing things together. It was just like a very communal experience. The people who stayed there were all, for the most part, pretty similar in the regard that, like, they were, they like to go out and they like to party and stuff like that, but most of the time they were just chilling. They weren't looking to, like, get stupid all the time, which, sometimes can happen, especially in Southeast Asia. So, I really liked it, and I became good friends with the owner, and he asked me if I wanted to volunteer and help run his hostel, and I, of course, graciously accepted, and, spent a couple months out there doing that. Your favorite hostel? I guess as far as hostels, I've stayed in, like, guest houses and different types of accommodation all over the world, but as far as, like, hostels go, I have to say I have quite fallen in love with the hostel that we are currently in. I came here first 2 years ago when I first started traveling, and I came here really planning to only stay for a day or two. I had been in Croatia for, I think, at least a month by this point, but only down on the coast. And, I can't say that I'm much of a party person. I don't drink a whole lot, yet for this month I was partying constantly, like going to the clubs and going on pub crawls and all this stuff all up and down the coast. And it was a lot of fun, but after a month of it, I was wrecked. I was tired. I was sick. I just wanted to, like, chill out, get sober, and, get back on my travels. So I come to Zagreb, and I check in at the Chill Out Hostel, because I'm like, it sounds chill. I immediately befriend a group of the volunteers here. And the first night I'm there, they're like, "Oh, Brian, you gotta come out on the pub crawl with us. It's gonna be fun." And I'm like, "Guys, like, I don't think I could touch a drop of booze right now. I am done. I cannot go out." Like, and they were like, pshaw. But so the next night, they were hassling me again, like, "Brian, come on, like, you gotta come out with us. Just one drink. Come for the one. Come for the one." And I was like, "All right, I'll come for the one." 6 weeks later, I am still here, going out, hanging out, and I loved it. Like, the staff are amazing. The volunteers are still to this day some of my best friends. We keep in touch like constantly, and this hostel just fosters a good vibe. I mean, people come together, and it's fun. There's an energy to it that I just pick up on. And now being back here 2 years later, it's really cool to see how much it's changed, how much it's grown, and I mean, in that it definitely has. Like when I was here last time, like the bar was like the size of this table. Like, I mean, it was like a really small bar. Didn't really do a lot of events. I mean, it really was more true to the name, like chill out. I mean, yeah, like there were pub crawls and we had fun. There were drinks, but for the most part, it was chill. But now, I mean, there's a huge bar here and there's tons of events and DJs and stuff like that. So it's really cool to see, where they've gone and how far they've come in the last 2 years.
Yeah, things get pretty lit here.
Yes, they do.
As the kids say, I got here and I was not ready. I was just like, all right, walk in. All right, I've been here like 4 hours. Let's go on a pub crawl.
Yeah.
Shots, drinks, body shots. I was like, hold on. So somebody just tell me when I stop being an adult. Okay?
Yes, straight up. Like, how old am I again? What's my age like?
What's my age?
Yeah, straight up.
Oh man.